kick looks all right. Joe Danaher standing up in the big moments. Those that were here will never forget what they saw. Brisbane just had unfinished business to attend to at the MCG.
The Lions produce a domination to make the golden era proud. The premiership is going back to Brisbane.
From walking on thin ice to dancing on the mountaintop, the Brisbane Lions never stopped believing.
Opening round is just a couple of days away, and we do not know whether it is going ahead at the Gabba as Cyclone Alfred rapidly approaches Brisbane. We, at this stage, Sunday night, 7:45, no idea if this game's going ahead, if it's getting rescheduled, moved, what the go is. But footy is just around the corner, and we now have the pre-season done and dusted. The real thing awaits. Brandon Starcevich loves getting his head caved in against Adelaide, and another close encounter against the Crows. All that and more to chat about in the Brisbane Lions Fancast with JB and Patrick, all thanks to Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications. It's good to be back for another week. Patrick, footy's back.
Yeah, you slightly misspoke. You said pre-season done and dusted. Are you saying that in a holistic sense, or just regarding the Lions?
No, that's it. All pre-season matches are done.
I wager there's still 5 minutes and 45 seconds left to go between Fremantle and Melbourne. So
okay, well there you go.
By the time it goes to air,
by the time anyone hears this, yes.
I'm just saying because you did put the date on. I did. Yep. Said so. I just didn't want any sticklers to kind of, I wanted to be the first one to do that.
You wanted to be the stickler?
Yep, absolutely. So happy with that. But yes, largely pre-season done and dusted. So very good. But who knows what's going to happen on Thursday. So
well, at this stage, it looks more likely than not that this game won't be going ahead in Brisbane. This is based on, I guess, conjecture at the moment and various updates. I just read to you a tweet from Mitch Cleary that he put out saying that the Lions and the government and the AFL are all working together and they're just sort of keeping an eye on it, but there's about 300 to 600 mils worth of rain forecast and 130k plus winds over Wednesday, Thursday, so not ideal footy conditions, you'd have to say.
No, I can't think of much worse than that.
So
on the whole, yeah.
You said that the precedent has been set a couple of years ago when the Easter Thursday match got swapped between Brisbane and Collingwood, and then when we played them later in the year, just the venue changed. So it looks like that could be the easiest option for this week.
I mean, I'd quite like that one, to be perfectly honest.
Well, yeah, because you get to go.
Yeah. But what a weird situation. What a kind of strange, unnecessary stress leading into, the first climax of the season. So,
yep.
To just keep our eyes peeled. I'm sure that you're probably all over it with some sort of weird live update, like black and green sort of matrix style monitor that I'm sure you've got next to your current monitor that's like giving you live updates from the brain of Tom Morris or something like that. So...
No, there's been, up here in Queensland and Brisbane listeners will know there's fairly regular updates about this cyclone across all media about where it's tracking and when and where it's likely to hit and what sort of stage it'll be when it does hit and all that sort of stuff. So it's a bit of a surreal experience of not something I've ever experienced before, and I don't really know what to do. Like, should I be panicking or should I just be going, it'll be fine? Probably somewhere in between.
I'm not going to give you any advice.
Yeah, good shout.
I'm also not going to give anyone any advice on how to behave, given that I'm probably pretty lax. So,
take advice from those that know. Secure all your loose outdoor items. Just listen to the authorities, the SES, and all that will tell you what to do, and listen to them. Don't drive in flooded waters, all that sort of stuff. Just don't be a hero, don't be an idiot. All right. The other exciting news for Lions fans is, and you may not have seen this just yet, Patrick. It looks like there's going to be a secondary documentary also coming out on Tuesday night via the AFL app and website. It's called Pound the Rock. Yeah, so that has been while Dancing on Thin Ice was largely the theme and motif for 2024, Pound the Rock is something that we know Fags has done basically since day dot. That's the message he's instilled to all the players since he walked in the doors. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. That's good. A little bit of bonus, let's celebrate the flag gear for us.
Yeah, I kind of wonder whether it's like the same footage, but it's just kind of like if it had two different directors. So you got your Guy Ritchie one over here, your Tarantino sort of style film over here, whether they'll be a bit like that or whether it's entirely different things, but one can hope.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to say it'll largely be the same. I know the Fox documentary Dancing on Thin Ice is really taking a look back. I think it starts back at the last year's 23 grand final, so it starts there at the loss and goes through that sort of 12 months leading up into the grand final win. So I'm not sure if the AFL one will do the same or if it sort of goes from when Fag started or if it's literally just the finals, but it looks like they've got a couple of players in for chats and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, awesome. Just when you...
What? Sorry, go. Well, if the AFL one's anything to go off in terms of what they released with Fagan and McRae and the coaching stuff from the 23 grand final that came out like the week before the grand final, that was extremely well done. So hopefully there's a bit of variance and they both have a slightly different feel, but they'll definitely be like, very hot viewing. Yeah, I can say.
Very excited for that. All right, we had a game against the Crows, and as I was saying to you, our games against Adelaide's the last 3 or 4 years, always very close, always very uncomfortable. Like obviously we had the draw, and like our last few games there's been a kick in it basically, and this was no exception. But all in all, fairly happy with that hit out. The obvious downside is that Brandon Starcevich goes out with a concussion again, which is a real pisser.
Yeah, that little thing, the old little shove in the back in the marking contest. I can understand that people probably think that it's just like, whatever. But, I mean, if someone runs past someone and hits their pinky finger on them and they get a concussion, they get rubbed out for a week. And this, with the Laylaw one that you talked about last week that I hadn't seen, that I then looked up and I was like, oh, Ruben Jimby.
Yeah.
Just shoving him into there. Like, that can't be something that people do.
There's been 3 across these, official preseason matches. Well, yeah, the Jimby one in the very first outing with Richmond and West Coast, that was bad. This one, not so bad.
Less bad, but still, it's the sort of thing where, it does it follows the idea that there's always going to be incidental head contact, which is fair, I guess. But when you're shoving a guy into, like, was it Thrillthorpe? It was like coming the other way. Big guy.
Yeah.
So,
I think there was another one in the Port Adelaide and St Kilda game, or maybe it was the Suns in Sydney. I can't really remember, but there was a third one, and it sort of sparked all right, we need to stamp. Obviously, David King's right on this. We need to stamp this out now.
Ugh.
So, it's probably just, hopefully just coincidence. Timing 3 in a preseason is a lot. There's just been so many injuries this preseason. It's ridiculous.
Yes. And my thoughts last week or the week before even of just having a sort of almost a shorter preseason for our blokes, guys in rehab doing the right things after surgeries has probably led to our guys being in like pretty good condition without kind of exercising a lack of restraint in terms of their poor diets and relaxation. So that's, I said some stuff last year about scheduling and how I thought that the Thursday-Sunday was kind of ruining our flow in the beginning of the year and led to sort of some kind of issues with recovery and form. But this is going to be my little sneaky thing, the preseason of not having enough time off to get into bad habits to then go again, which has put us in pretty good shape because we're kind of, strangely enough, one of the healthiest lists.
It was very strange, the amount of players we had available for Thursday night. Obviously, Harris didn't play. He was ill, and Archie had a little bit of tightness. So those at this stage, both of those guys will be available for opening rounds if it goes ahead. But other than that, it's just sort of Duday, Gardner, and Kitty Coleman are sort of behind by a few weeks. It will be interesting come the back end of the season with all those players that didn't necessarily have a full preseason, how they fare, how their bodies hold up, how their energy levels are. So we probably won't know that for a while. But yeah, it was good to get a fairly decent team out on the park on Thursday night.
Yeah, and I think preseason you're always just looking for moments and things like that. I've probably said that last week about the weird triple header. You're looking for how are they looking, how are they running, how are they covering the ground, who's there. There were some people there that I didn't expect to be there. Henry Smith was a surprise, pleasant one at that. And you know, if you look at the score worm, obviously we kind of gave away, what was it, 4 goals?
Yep.
In the last sort of, second half of the last quarter. But I think at that time we'd taken a lot of guys off and we were sort of just, we was almost in the rack.
We had parked the bus at that. The pleasing thing about that, and we'll probably explore this a little bit more in depth later, the pleasing thing about when Adelaide hit the front with 2-3 minutes left, we still had 2 shots on goal, and
nearly 3.
Their save the game mode versus our win the game mode, it held up, and Cam missed, Jazzy missed. On a different day they kicked those goals, but the fact that we could turn that on so quickly and give ourselves a good shot at winning the game a couple of times when we were behind was pretty impressive, and something we can take away from that. But I thought we got off to a bit of a slow start, to be honest, and that midfield, for some reason our midfield and Adelaide's midfield, it breaks even, and then it goes in momentum. Like the first 10 minutes, I thought Adelaide's midfield really got on top of us.
Yeah, it's I'm just sort of thinking back. I've obviously had some weird stuff going on the Thursday night, so I was having to watch on catch up. I had an unwanted guest.
Yes.
Drive through my front fence into my missus' car. So that happened just as the footy was starting to fire up. So dealing with that and dealing with police, the fellow had been drinking and whatnot. So not a great start.
No.
Got to say. So it meant that I was switching on the first half at about 12:20 in the morning. So I watched the first half and then watched the following day. So please forgive me if my recollection of particularly the first half is not swimming.
Yeah.
It's not great. So Brooksy, you might have to take the lead on this one.
Well, I mean, for this game, what I really wanted to see, what I was really hoping for, and what I'm quite disappointed that I didn't get, was one of those key forwards standing up and saying, "Yep, give me this spot for opening round." I don't like. They were needed to demand that spot, whether it was Logan Morris, Eric Hipwood, Sam Day, Ty Gallup. I wanted to leave that go. All right, yep, that's our guy for opening round at least. Because that is it's the big question on every Lions supporters, minds, and of course the AFL community wider, of like, what are we going to do to fill the Joe Danaher hole? And I really wanted one of those tools to be like, don't worry, I've got this, I'm your man, and didn't get it from any of them. Logan Morris had like such an almost night, and like he will be there opening round. I still think it's going to be Sam Day gets a first crack, Logan Morris and Eric Hipwood. But as you mentioned, Henry Smith played that last 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, it's almost a full-time ruck as well. So,
and I liked it. I liked what I saw.
Yeah, a little bit of ruck craft.
Yeah.
It's hard to really judge off of that. I actually, so some of the key takeaways I had was that I thought Fletcher was really fit, and
Fletcher was amazing.
Should have kicked a few goals. I thought Logan Morris presented extremely well, and his second efforts and his defensive running was really good.
Yep. Really
good. I thought Josh Dunkley covered the ground exceptionally well.
Yep.
Even for him, and Jared Berry looked good, and he kicked a couple goals. The check side was kind of funny, but
not funny.
He was almost laughing to himself as he did that. And I suppose as a now experienced player, you're kind of given license to do silly things like that. And Levi Ashcroft worked into the game quite nicely in the second half.
Yeah, big time.
And aside from that, everyone looked pretty bloody good. Hipwood was much more mobile and much more with it than I expected him to be.
Yep. It'll be better for
I
the
didn't
run.
expect him to kind of... Yeah, absolutely. And it might be a bit of a slow start for him, but I think...
I'd say it will be, yeah.
I think we've, if we look back at it historically, I think he's been very impactful as kind of the main man early on in Fagan's coaching career. He had him and McStay as essentially the only two. So it can function. So I thought, Ty Gallup didn't really impress this time.
No, yeah, he didn't follow on from his good form in that Tri-Series match. So I was hoping to see a little bit
that's
more.
okay, though. That's entirely okay, because you can't expect this young kid to kind of come up and blitz 3 games in a row. That level of consistency is... think of Brownie's first game in AFL. Didn't get a stat, or got a tackle or whatever. So there's plenty of room for improvement, but it's a really solid foundation.
Yeah, big time. I thought Bailey was okay. I thought he was better the week before. He was certainly serviceable this week. Seemed to get a little bit more of the ball down back and across the wing. Same with Berry as well. Lockie was phenomenal. And I am just going to get this out of the way. Jordan Dawson could be one of my favourite players to watch, and one of my favourite players outside of Brisbane. He's a joy to watch.
He's a good player. One of my favourite players, the old Darcy Fogarty, the big tree trunks legs.
Yeah.
He was pretty good. His terrifying cold blue eyes. Their forward structure was...
Yeah.
I hardly remember Tex was on the field most of the time, so he's kind of having a bit of a wind down year. Just playing sort of a link man and a bit of a take a defender out, and you've got Thrillthorpe and Fogg running around. They're new guys, so they had Alex Neil-Bullen, Isaac Cumming, and Pedler. No, not Pedler. Peatling. Sorry. Pedler's almost like a new player, given that he barely played last year. Quite like Pedler too.
I like Luke Pedler, yeah.
Yeah, I remember his Rising Star nomination chat with Jared and Robbo being like hilarious, because he was sort of on his phone on a balcony, like looking up his nose, and it was quite funny. But Adelaide they look like a fun team. I'm amazed they were 4th from bottom last year.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? They really underperformed on the back of their 2023 form. The other thing probably worth noting is they had Murray Davis like front and center in that coach's box, who knows our game inside and out. So they've obviously got an advantage there. And it was a little bit sad to see him wearing another team's sort of, polo top and all that sort of stuff. But these things happen. You can't really, you can't.
You got to give someone a chance to grow. So, that's all okay.
Noah Answorth backed up again. Great game. And how's his goal from 50 where, like, if you watch that in the replay, he barely, like, it was a Daniel Rich sort of just like a little swing and just connected and flushed it.
It's a bit like that in the old preseason, where you sort of have like an extra 5 meters on your shoe, and then by the end of the season you sort of struggling to make the distance. But I'm not sure if some of the listeners would have been disappointed that I had him as a potential out for the team in lieu of Levi last week. He definitely won't be coming out of the team, given Starcevich's big bald head copping a knock, so he'll be there for sure. And it was sort of more like, where can you fit something else? Sort of, we didn't want to both be boring as all hell and just say, look, this is what it's going to be, because like a question a couple of weeks before from Ross just sort of said, should we be rotating more? And I think, we should, for sure, particularly if we've got some people that might be slightly underdone in the preseason, or some people that might have slow starts. Sort of rotate and shift the magnets a little bit from week to week. So remains to be seen. But I think on the whole, a very serviceable hit out. Lockie Neal pushing full forward at times was quite funny.
Yeah, a couple of Joe the Gooses out the back.
And Kai Lohman taking 2 pretty special marks early on. early on in the piece. So, I mean, he could be, his back end of last year and his performance in the grand final sort of dictated a bit of a keep an eye on him, but he's got the attributes to be somewhere near a Toby Green type, I think, over the next few years, if he can kind of bulk out a little bit. He's got that dog, and he's got the overhead marking, and he can kind of play medium size rather than just a small. And he tackles hard. I was telling you earlier on, I rewatched the preliminary final against Geelong earlier on today because I just had a bit of spare time. So, and man, he tackles hard. So, exciting. I'm just excited to hopefully watch a game on Thursday.
Yeah, well, that's something we definitely need to prepare for. And the big question is the Starcevich. Obviously, you've mentioned Noah Answorth would keep his spot. I figured that would be the case anyway. Shadow Brain is probably, if you're looking for an in and out like for like, that is probably the closest we've got on the list. I want to float an idea to you that I think could allow for potential shifting around the ground and giving someone their debut. Because
are you going for the Beacons?
No.
I thought you were going to go for the Beacons.
No, I'm not. I wasn't going to go for Luke Beacon. He might play a game this year. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on a guy that we both really love? We know he wins his one-on-ones. What do you think about shoving Jasper Fletcher down behind the ball? Because in the back half of that game against Adelaide, he was getting a fair amount of it in the D50. That would allow for someone like a Levi Ashcroft to come in and play a bit more forward of the ball. He's not going to be playing wing. But between Hugh, Bez, Bailey, and others, they can fill that sort of wing forward role and rotate. Thoughts?
I don't love it.
I don't love it either, but I think it could be an underrated option as a defender with a defensive mindset, and that will take a task and lock it down. Because you got to think about Geelong forward line. They got Close, Stengel, Grind Myers. They've got some crafty half forwards, and we know that they push up to the contest as well. We know Jazzy can roll with that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that Noah Answorth did really well in the prelim.
Yeah,
I think at times Sean Manners another one for them, but yeah, it's possible. But I just think I don't see Shadow Brain coming in because we haven't caught a glimpse of him really in either of the practice games, unless I'm mistaken.
I think he got a little bit of time on the field against the Suns, like at the very end there. Yeah. But it wasn't anything amazing.
Substantial.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Sorry, go on.
I was just thinking it's the left field options. I think just for a defensive player that we obviously need to come in, Shadow Brain is probably the obvious call, if you could call it that, I suppose.
Well, the other thing is if McKenna comes on from sub, then that's kind of your defensive player.
Yeah.
There, which I know he's not playing as a defensive player strictly, but if you were going to look at the kind of team layout and go, well, you've got your halfbacks in terms of Moddy. Actually, Moddy's one that I forgot to mention. He looks fit as a fiddle and like agile like a cat. And we've talked before about Will Mort. Mortar. I've got another one for you, Drill Mort, because he started hitting them flat like a drill, drilling them. So we've got Drill Mort and Drill Mort and Will Mort. So we want more Drill Mort, and I think I've screwed this up again. It's really hard. But I did notice watching the prelim, there was one that he did that I had to pan up from the MCG, and it even showed the sky in that as well. And I was like, man, you can't make this up. It's too good. Sorry. So you got Zorko, Wilmot, McKenna, Noz.
Yeah. I just think that's probably...
Leicester.
I just don't like the balance of that. I think McKenna, Zorko, and Wilmot is all far too attacking and not necessarily enough defensive accountability. And that's probably my biggest issue with McKenna specifically is his defensive accountability. Because we need that Starcevich role. We need someone to lock away. Like, Stengel was basically a non-factor in the prelim last year. We need someone to do
I mean,
that.
it's more because of Tyson Stengel more than... I mean, he was awful, but he made some terrible decisions. I think you can easily have someone like Noah go in with stoppage. I mean, Wilmot's pretty defensively accountable when it dictates. But it also could be the thing where if we just try and like go the other way on them, that could be quite handy. So, I mean, Geelong are pretty good.
Yeah.
And
So,
I mean,
I want to talk to you about Ryan Lester's role for this game as well, because he's played very, very well.
Same old.
Yeah, well, he's played very, very well in Jeremy Cameron, obviously, the last couple of games. The other option now that they've got up forward is obviously Dangerfield is sitting in the 50 a fair amount. I think Leicester would be the perfect matchup for him as well. So it's I mean,
well, it's almost. I mean, if it was a perfect day, I would put Starcevich on Dangerfield.
Yep.
And have Leicester go with Charlie Cameron. Jeremy Cameron. Just because I think that Starcevich has the physicality to kind of bully Danger. It's funny. So like I've literally just finished watching it. You know, the prelim,
Yep.
and it's funny to see these players that are like superstar players. You know, guys like Tom Stewart, where Starcevich went into a one-on-one with him and bodied him out of the way and got the ball out, and you're like, he's doing that to one of the best players of the past 5 years, just like it's nothing. And you would kind of expect him to do that, and unfortunately he's not going to be there. But yeah, we'll see. We don't know. I hope they have some good ideas.
Yeah, and I'm sure as soon as the injury happened, they started scratching their heads and thinking of potential ideas of what to do moving forward. But you know, they've had a few.
Would it be the case of them not playing Shannon Neal, or would they play Shannon Neal, Danger, Jezza, and Ollie Henry all as kind of like a four, or would it be Dangerfield sort of playing mid forward?
Yeah, I think so. Mid forward. I think that midfield for the Cats is getting passed down to Max Holmes. You know, they've got Bailey Smith in there. Atkins is playing in there a little bit more. Tanner Bruin. I mean, both of those guys, Bruin and Bailey Smith, didn't play in the preseason match, and so yeah, their midfield is definitely looking a little bit different, which is, I mean, good for them, the Cats, because it's been the biggest knock on them for a while of their midfield being a little bit too stagnant, slow, and not really evolving. So they've finally got the wheels in motion for that. Yeah, I think they'll be right up there again this year, the Cats.
Yeah, Max Holmes, will his hamstring continue to twang every 2 years like clockwork? And how will Bailey Smith go, given he's not played football in a while? But it's the sort of thing where, you know, we've seen the ACLs come back and it takes a bit of time, so it doesn't matter sort of how hard you hit the ground running. Like Lincoln McCarthy on Thursday, whilst exuberant, was a bit rusty.
Yeah, and he certainly didn't do anything for me to go, oh yes, we need this guy back in. So I think Archie will come in and take that spot, and Link will have to bide his time and get some runs on the board before he's considered. But like, he will play. Which was
funny. It's funny considering John Ralph was like, oh, you know, if he gets through this, he's expecting to play in round one. It's like, why?
Yeah, I don't think so. He will play footy this year, no doubt.
Of course,
he'll play
of course.
Plenty of it. It's not going to be this week.
No, I don't necessarily think so. And you know, it's an interesting one because he functionally has come into the team in 2019 and never been dropped, other than when he was suspended for punching Cam McIntosh or jumper punching him in his, you know, slightly hairier lower part of his head. And he's never really been dropped, so he's sort of just went out with that. You've copped a little bit of heat, and I suppose I've copped some strays for sort of suggesting that he's a good player that might play in the team. We're not saying people should come in or come out, but just mix it up a little bit.
Like I said, he will play footy this time, and it will have to come at the expense of someone. And you know, that's going to have to be an Archie or a Loman or a Cameron. Yeah, it's going to have to be one of those. It's thankfully not something we have to think about right now, but it will be a discussion that has to be had at some point, because he will be playing. He's too good to be playing twos. He's too good to be playing twos. So we'll see. But he's not going to be playing anytime soon at the moment, that's for sure.
I got a question. I've just thought, was Tom Duday ever an All-Australian?
Ooh, I don't know. He would have been close. He may have made a squad.
Yeah, it's not really relevant yet. It's more just he's a pretty good player, you know?
Yeah. Let's see if I can find anything on the fly here.
While you're doing that, I'm going to open up the old tipping because I have to do all of my tips live and in...
That's right.
Yeah, unvetted or whatever we call it. We need to find out a segment for this. It's just through the main AFL app, right?
That is correct. The Brisbane Lions Fancast Footy Timmy competition is live. The links are available if you check out our social posts or go to our website, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. There's a link there. You can join up. We have got, last time I checked, about mid-50s in terms of players.
Mid-50s?
Yeah.
Oh, get a hold of them.
Let's have a look right here in real time.
Oh, man, I really want to tip Hawthorn, but I don't think I can.
They go 62 players so
62
far in our Brisbane Lions Fancast tipping competition so far.
What do you reckon the chances of trying to crack the Hundy?
Well, we'll see.
Not high.
We'll see.
Maybe? I don't know.
62 is more than
It's
I
not
thought.
exactly...
So.
Yeah, it's not exactly exponential growth, but, you know, it's growth. All right, so should I do my rail off my tips now?
Yeah, let's go. All right, first game at this stage is Brisbane Geelong, venue TBC.
Yeah. The funny thing is that I've had to break my rules, not like, you know, wait for this. I normally hate doing score predictions.
Yep.
And I have to do one first. Do I have to put my score prediction down in this?
Yeah.
Or can I just say who I think is going to win?
No,
I do?
you can do it here. Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Only because I want to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, so I've got the Lions by 22.
Okay.
And then I've gone Sydney, Gold Coast, and the Giants.
Yep.
Entering them in. Tips saved.
Lovely.
My team is called Bitter Patrick because that's what you all think of me, so that's what I might as well put down. Beautiful.
Lovely. All right. Well, feel free to join the competition. Like I said, the links are available at our website, or you can use the code YK64WVCF. And there will be a prize at the end of the season for whoever comes out on top. Lovely.
Just worth noting, if you do sign up, you can turn off all of the betting shit and the crypto stuff. So
yes,
don't feel like you're going to get shoehorned into all of that nonsense. Because I immediately did that.
All right, we've got a couple of questions. Thanks to Crisp Communications. We've only got a couple here. Mr. I, not so much a question here. Says, Answorth and Fletcher both need to be in our best 22. They give it their all every contest. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. We've loved Noah Answorth forever. And for those of you who might be kind of new listeners or who don't, haven't followed the Lions closely, and he sort of just turned up out of nowhere one couple of games during last season. He was I think he was a Vic Metro captain? No. Where was he drafted from?
I think he was Oakley.
WA?
I think he was the Chargers.
Chargers.
I think so.
Is that regional or is that...
No, that's Victoria.
Metro.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he was a captain of his draft year and he had his back broken in his draft year. So he elected to not be drafted that year and follow on the next year.
Yeah.
We picked him up relatively meekly for nothing because he was a year older, and so he's a genuine leader in terms of football, and he would have been a top 20 pick the year before. I'm certain of that. So he's a much better player than he's given credit for. He looks like a weird Richardson love child.
Yeah,
he's always quite
does
endearing.
have a little bit of Matty Richardson about him, doesn't he?
Yep. I nearly said Alan Richardson, but I'm glad I didn't, because that he does not look like.
Another question from Bangs21 on Instagram here. Despite the obvious, what do you want out of this season? I'm guessing the obvious is a premiership. Is a back-to-back.
Well, it's funny because it might have to be fast-tracked. I wanted to see the Lions win it at Geelong because we haven't done it for 21 years. It's probably the only game I'll get to this year. So I would like them to win at Cardinia. And I'd like to see Kadeem Coleman come back and play some good footy. I'd like to see what Tom Duday can bring to the team. And I would like not for Zorko to have a fade out in this year.
Yeah, that is a small worry of mine, is that last year was the exception and not the rule. I feel like obviously
he does look good.
Yeah.
He does look good in preseason. So
he did
obviously that guy,
kicks.
but he obviously keeps his body in like pretty good shape, and he's obviously trying to like really eke everything out of his last couple of seasons. So I just hope that doesn't happen, which is kind of a bit of a weird hope.
Yep.
But I hope if it does happen, it kind of coincides with Kadeem Coleman but come back in the team.
Yeah, big time.
I don't really want to see our guys getting hurt in the kind of graphic ways it was happening last year, because it was
no more knees, please.
like the Gardner and the McCarthy and those two were so hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like Link's eyes rolling back into his head. The Big O in the prelim was genuinely like stomach churning. Starcevich getting like beelined by Rankin was not good. We had Answorth getting brained in a marking contest, knee in the back of the skull, that was not good. There was a lot of not good stuff happening in the injury front that was kind of vaguely not graphic, but it was just sort of, when you like these chumps, you don't want to see them in pain and stuff like that. So I'd rather not see some kind of horrible injuries.
Yep.
We had our fair share last year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to, what I'm hoping to see is by the end of this year that I can sort of sit back and go, all right, we're going to be okay. I guess when the time comes that Lockie retires, Zorko, Froggy, this key forward dilemma we've got to sort of fix. I want to get to the end of the season and go, all right, we've got answers for this, and this. And it looks like, the keys to the midfield are going to get handed over to the Ashcroft boys. Dunkley's still got a few years left in him.
Well, Dunkley's isn't Dunkley like younger than McCluggage, or like 6 months older than McCluggage?
Yeah.
Like it's something insane like that. But he just happened to play in a premiership in his first season.
Yeah.
The people immediately, that adds 10 years to how you're perceived. Because you know me, I love like going through the ages and that sort of stuff. But so yeah, he's definitely one for the next 5 years, Dunkley.
Yeah. The other thing I want to see, and this is going to lead into a discussion I want to have with you now, is that we re-sign Stars. That is priority number one in terms of re-signings for me this year, is getting him back on.
Yeah, I've got questions about that. I don't quite understand why it's sort of a foregone conclusion that he wants to go quote unquote home. A bit like Daniel Rich, really, where there's an element of the guy came in when he was 17. He's obviously got family ties with Craig Starcevich in at the Lions. People in Perth tend to have a somewhat of a weird affinity with Brisbane in terms of there's a lot of travel between the two. I don't quite get why he would want to go home when you can assume in the past 7 years he's built a life in Brisbane.
Well, you can assume that. I don't know. Maybe the lure of home is always there for some people. I don't know. It seems to be a little bit of chat. I don't think it's panic stations, and at this stage I'm still fairly certain he will resign, but I think the fact that now that he's won a flag could lean him to go, well, I've done that now, maybe I can go home and play footy in my home state.
Yeah, I guess home is an abstract concept for different people. And I guess when he was drafted to us in 2018, we did have a familial tie to get him to the club. Not to specifically get him to the club, but to make that a more comfortable transition. I mean, you can even look at like Simon Black was a WA boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys that
Different
like
time,
being
though.
in Brisbane. Yeah, true, but I mean, there was definitely times with him and Luke Power were quite homesick in their kind of first couple of seasons and things like that. I guess it was just less talked about. I just think with Starcevich, we haven't heard anything from him other than that he quite likes playing football at the Lions. And
you don't really hear much
it.
from Stars, generally speaking, though, do you?
No, but he's always extremely eloquent when he speaks.
Yeah. And
he seems like someone that would kind of not just operate on a whim. He would have kind of a full picture to go with. So, I mean, it could be a bit like McCluggage last year, where it could be the case of it takes a little bit of time. But I mean, anyone that's been in a job when you're kind of uncertain about, where your income's coming from, what your prospects are, your longevity, it can be a bit of a pain, and it can be a kind of thing in the back of your mind. So, I hope it gets resolved. I hope he stays with the club because I really like him.
Yeah, big time. All right, well, what I'm going to do now is I want to go through the other players that are out of contract at the end of the year, and we'll do a bit of like buy, swap, sell, keep, delist, trade, retire.
Yep.
So we've gone through Stars. Your next one is Bruce.
Keep.
Resign was sort of a 2-year deal. See if he gets any games this year. If he doesn't get any games, then maybe a year.
Yeah, I mean, I'd keep on the rookie list if you can.
Cal Archie, that's obviously a must resign. I would.
It's a keep.
Yeah, 3-4 year deal.
I'd just go 2.
Connor.
I would keep.
Darcy Fort.
Shit.
Because you can't keep all of these players.
No, you can't keep them all. It's impossible.
It largely depends on the for me it depends on the improvement that we may or may not see in Henry Smith.
I would say rookie list.
Yeah.
Is that an option? Offer a rookie list spot.
I can see the splinters in your ass, mate. Darcy Gardner.
Stop playing.
Retire.
Yeah. Sorry. Retire sounds really harsh, but I'd say probably surplus to requirements.
Zork.
Retire.
Dev.
Trade. Like, put him on a plane to West Coast and just say, like, I'm not leaving. I'm chained to the radiator, bros.
Yeah. He could be involved in some sort of Oscar Allen trade, perhaps.
Well, Oscar Allen will be a free agent, so no trade required.
Logan Morris.
Re-sign, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, big time. You reckon that's a... Would you throw a 5-year at Logan? Depends on how his season goes. Like, if he...
I'd throw a 5-year at him.
Yeah. Link?
Re-sign for 2 years.
For 2?
Or 1. Yeah, 2 years.
He only just signed a 1.
Oh, well, yeah, put him on another 1. I didn't know these ones were...
He signed on 1, but he was coming back from a knee, so I think that plays a part of it. I think a lot of these plays will be like, depends on how the year goes. Frog. No reason not to give him another year.
One. Always the 1.
Jimmy Tunstall.
Trade.
Yeah.
Or D-list. I'm sorry. I like Tunstall in his Beatles haircut, but it's just not happening.
I think he'll have some trade value, and he'll probably go back to WA. Dara Joyce.
Probably D-list, but I kind of like him. But I also think your mate Zane Sakostelski, probably that's a bit of a roadblock for him. So
yeah, we've got those mid-season recruits. So Darcy Craven, Luke Beacon, and Darcy Craven, Luke Beacon.
Yeah, it doesn't trade D-list.
Yeah. Reece Torrent, who was our last pick in the draft year before last, so the end of 23, I think.
Don't know.
Yeah, a bit of an unknown quantity. He does play well in the VFL, but yeah.
I mean, he could be a rookie list if you can rookie list him.
Sam Day. That is TBC. Hey?
That's a well. I mean, to me, that's a trade or D-list, providing either Henry Smith proves that he's good, or we get another forward.
I doubt he'd have any trade value. It would be a case of...
Oh no, he literally has negative trade value.
Yeah. So if he has a good year though, like if he kicks 40 goals somehow and fills that backup ruck role, and we push into another grand final off the back of that, then you'd keep him around for another year, you'd have to say. And
you'd trade him to Essendon to take Todd Goldstein's role.
The other fella that you've already mentioned, Zane Zakostelski.
Yeah, keep him.
Keep him.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're looking in terms of key backs, like we don't really have that much stock.
No.
Other than the sort of first teamers, I think it's the sort of thing where if Darcy Gardner wants to go on or whatever, and the club has faith in that, now that he has frozen shoulders and a frozen knee, would Zane Zakostelski want to stick around if you've got Joyce and Gardner and if your path to the first team is not sort of super there?
He would need for me to show a lot of improvement in the VFL.
Yep.
Yeah, because at this stage I would say, all right, thanks, but no thanks at the end of the year. But if he has a blinder,
you love that guy. You love him.
I don't know him.
He's your favorite.
He hasn't impressed so far in the twos. So if he has a big year in the twos, then sure, it might be worth keeping around for another year or two. But I'm not really. He had
an interrupted preseason, and he's quite young, right?
Yeah. He'd be 20 or something.
But he's lower. He's like young for even his draft year.
I believe so. Yeah.
Not in a way that a youthful, exuberant Darcy Wilmot is. So.
All right. Well, there's the current players that are now.
We don't have anyone below Zakostelski in alphabetical order.
No.
ZZ.
That's crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, that settles that. We're keeping on. I
like that. That settles that. Like I have any kind of like. God, man, you give me way too much credit here, buddy.
I largely agree with most of the things you said there.
What, any standouts for not agreeing with me?
Not really. I think Link's contract situation could be a little bit dicey depending on if he can get games. I wouldn't be surprised. And probably Connor McKenna as well. Like I'm not sure.
How old is Connor McKenna?
God,
20. You've got two monitors. I don't have two monitors.
28. Okay. For some reason, I thought he was older. Maybe it's the fact that he's got greys coming through now. So he's only 28. So yeah, never mind then.
Yeah, I mean, I'd 2-year him.
Yeah.
I'd 2-year him. I'd try and 1-year Link if possible. But I mean, as you said, that remains to be seen. So it's a bit of a wait and see. When you've got like Kalachi and Lohman and stuff kind of running around. So I don't think we're not lacking in that position, I guess.
The other thing is we're going to have to create some bloody salary cap room for Will Ashcroft next year. That's going to have to be something we need to do. So we'll think about that later. All right, what else do you want to have a chat about before we get this game that may or may not be happening in Brisbane on Thursday night?
What else is there to talk about? Lots of injuries, hey?
Yeah.
Lots of injuries. What is, like, Butters gone? Errol Goulden gone?
Yeah, that was gross.
For a while?
The
old trapped under the old footo.
Yeah, what's that going to be? Close to 10 weeks? Like...
Oh, he's surgery on an ankle. That could be 3 months, could be 6 months if it's unlucky. The Bont went out with some calf.
Yeah, and that's turned out to be fairly lengthy as well.
Collingwood destroyed Richmond, which I suppose destroyed Richmond is going to be basically what you say after most teams this year. So, what's your read on the Collingwood project for this year? The all-in.
Yeah, I mean they sort of have to.
What was my ladder prediction last week? I can't remember it because you said it was really hard to predict a top 8.
Yeah.
And now I might be wrong, but was my top 8? Did it include Adelaide, Brisbane, Fremantle, Geelong, GWS, Hawthorn,
Sydney?
I really don't. Yeah. So I think I got to 7.
Yeah, and then it's like Melbourne, Port, Gold Coast. There's all these other teams that, Essendon is a chance. They've played pretty well their preseason games.
Oh, not a chance. Port Adelaide. Let's
Yeah.
go Port Adelaide. So I don't have Collingwood in there because I think that 1 or 2 injuries and they'll be railroaded. And also I'd like not to see them in the finals, to be perfectly frank.
No, I understand that. But yeah, the way they have moved the ball has been exciting. Like, they've got some quick ball movement. They've played well. It's hard to know what to take in the game against Richmond because, as you said, like, most teams are going to flog them this year. So
I think there's quite a few teams that could be top 4 and could be out of the 8.
Yep.
Which is insane. Like, the margins are so fine. Yeah. What a weird season this could be. We've had some weird seasons the last couple where they've been so tight and so kind of... The logjam is super real.
Yeah.
And hopefully some of the bottom teams improve a little bit. Obviously, Richmond probably won't. But they did have some pretty horrible injury issues themselves last year. We're supposed to be on a Richmond podcast, right?
Yeah, that's coming up. Before we play them in round 4, I think we're going to be doing a bit of a guest spot with the big footy guys.
Not after we play them?
No, before. A bit of a
no.
bit of a preview.
Read between the lines, Brooksy. Come on. Yeah, it could be a bit of a dismal year for them, but we've had some pretty dismal years when they've been.
I think they'll be lucky to win 2 games. The Tigers.
Well, are they intra-club games or what?
But honestly, like, that's what happens. You win 3 flags, all your stars retire or get traded out. You lull down the bottom of the ladder, and better you do it now than when Tasmania comes in. So
yeah,
if you're a
don't
Richmond
do it the way that we did it.
Yeah.
We tried to hang on, and it did not fucking work.
No,
I can tell you that, so.
And then we had our rebuild in the years that fucking Gold Coast and then the Giants came into the competition, and we drafted people like Billy Longer.
And James Aish.
Yeah. So don't do what Billy Brisbane does.
Don't do what Vossi. Yeah. Also, that glasses like club president guy. That man, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with glasses. Glasses are fine. I wear some sometimes when I'm trying to drive in the dark. But that guy, man, I just burned in my brain of that Michael Voss getting sacked thing with that like smug Damien Barrett looking guy.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something else, like the football.
Yeah.
We are playing Geelong, and Geelong are a good team consistently. They've improved in areas they needed to improve. They haven't really lost out in areas they had not to lose out on. Like, what happened? They probably Mitch Duncan might have I suppose Tomahawk's gone, and Zach Tui.
Yep.
Did Mitch Duncan retire?
No, I don't think so. I think he's still there.
Did I also just call him Mick Chunkin?
I like that. I'll get the large McChunkin meal, please.
Tuish. Yeah, so we'll see how they kind of pan out in terms of who's in their team and whatnot. But, it's a fair shout. I always back our boys.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I am nervous. Though. The Star seems...
What's to be nervous about,
Yeah, I don't know. Well, footy...
Are you nervous to know whether you're going to be going to the football or swept up in a hurricane?
I mean, obviously, that's a bit more of an impending doom than nervousness. I think I don't know. The first game without Joe, now no Stars. I don't know. Like, I should just be happy that we've got the flag and the rest is just sort of bonus. But I don't know. I'm just, I guess, nervous excitement of how we're going to play this year.
What do you reckon about this one from this, as you would say, gear coming out of WA? Petrarca, 33 disposals, 0 goals. Clayton Oliver, 28 disposals, 3 goals.
Yeah, they both look pretty good today.
And what about this one? 8 Sharp, 1 goal, 9 disposals.
Yeah, good on him.
Also, Jackson Pryor played for Essendon, and that makes me sad because I like him.
Yeah, I think he'll get a few games at the Dons this year.
Oh dear. My wasted heart will go on for that fighty young man. Hopefully, we get some football. I like football.
Yeah, well, we will get some football. It just may not involve the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba.
Well, I mean, I just want it to involve the Brisbane Lions, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that remains to be seen. We'll be back next week with ideally a first game to talk about. And yeah, here we are. We're back. Footy is back.
Worst case, yeah. So best case scenario, talk about a game and it's a win. Worst case scenario, don't talk about the game, or worst case scenario, talk about the game and it's a loss.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I feel like it's like it's like a fork in the road of worst case scenario.
Well, we will have to talk about the game.
Yeah, no, we will. But it's like, let's talk about Gold Coast and Essendon and how Jackson Pryor kicked 7 goals.
Now
that'd be pretty good, actually. I'd be all right with that.
I don't think that's anything we'll ever have to talk about, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but this is just like that thing of Brian Myers coming to the Lions and winning a Brownlow medal, and then you have to change your son's name to Brian. It still could happen.
It's just like that. Yeah, that's right.
It's exactly the sort of thing that could happen.
Join the footy tipping competition. Check out the website, BrisbaneLionsFancast.com. Do follow us on your socials, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Follow us, throw us a rating. Help get the word out about the show, and let's bloody have it.
Can we do a buy me a coffee thing this year? Given coffees are apparently $10 each or something.
Yeah, we can. I can sort something like that out.
I'm poor.
Me too. We all are.
Oh god! And on that note, let's get out of here and watch the football.